Welcome to Hearing What Matters, a podcast for Australians looking to know more about their hearing health, hearing loss, and hearing aids. My name is V. Tran, host of your podcast. I do work for Active Audiology, an independent clinic in Melbourne, and my purpose with this podcast is to deliver information that is controversial, independent, honest, for those looking to improve their hearing health knowledge and make informed decisions. Cris, welcome back to Hearing What Matters. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, V. Good to be here.
Now, Cris, one of the areas that a lot of people are asking questions around with hearing aids and getting hearing tests is this proliferation of big hearing companies. We've got the independent clinics that we've known in our community. And then we've got even Costco doing hearing aids, right? And then there's Specsavers that are known for glasses, but now they're doing audiology as well. Then we've got Amplifon around the country. What our listeners would really like to know is, what's the difference? Who should I go to for my hearing aids? Who's the cheapest? Who's the best? And, what differences are there in service? From what I understand, you used to work for a big corporate provider earlier in your years of practice. Is that right?
Yeah, look, that's correct. I started my career working with one of the now larger organisations.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was it was an interesting experience. It was great to start with because when I joined them, they were relatively small. So
And this was Amplifon?
This was, well, what Amplifon used to be known as, which was National Hearing Centres. And it was a smaller organisation, and things were quite intimate, and the focus was on delivering an excellent service. And there was quite a bit of autonomy that was provided to clinicians, so you could really do the best you could as a professional.
Are you saying that's not the case now?
Well, one of the reasons that I left that environment is because things started to change. It began to grow, so the focus was more on increasing the bottom line and less on providing a consistent and high quality service.
So then if you left there, you opened up your own practice, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And how are you different to, say, National or Amplifon as they're known now?
I learned a lot. It was a very it was a great experience there to start with. But as I said, it got to the point where I couldn't continue on with the way that I wanted to continue on as an audiologist. So I took what I learnt from that environment, what I thought was a benefit to me, and then I carried that over to starting up my own business as an independent audiology provider.
So what does independent mean versus, say, what Amplifon is or Specsavers is? What does that mean?
Good question. It's like with anything in the corporate world, when anything becomes so big that the priorities change, and it's a big business, and big businesses need to generate revenue to increase their profit. So it comes at a cost, and yes, you've got the economies of scale there that you do gain from a larger corporate. Sometimes, not always. And what I mean by that is you may as a consumer be able to purchase a hearing aid at a slightly lower cost compared to a non-corporate entity.
Do you sell the same hearing aids?
Another interesting question. Sometimes yes, but a lot of the times no. So hearing aids, one of the advantages or disadvantages. An advantage from the corporate's perspective is that they've got the buying power with some of the major manufacturers and some of the that we haven't heard of before, so they can purchase device and white label them or put their own brand on them and provide them as their own.
Why would they do that? What does that mean to me if I'm getting a white labelled hearing aid?
Well, what it means to you as the consumer is you can be offered a device at a significantly lower cost.
Right.
Now,
does it work as well?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Now, with hearing aid fittings, there's two sides to it really. There's the device itself, so that can give you the result, but there's also how it's been fine-tuned, how it's been fitted and adjusted to the individual. So, and in order to do that, you need to spend some time listening to the patient, understanding what their hearing needs are, and then translating those requirements into adjustments. You may have limitations with the device itself, which then translate into whether or not it's a successful outcome. Now, one of the biggest limitations with a white labelled hearing aid is that you're essentially locked in with that provider, because not only is the hearing aid itself unique, but also the software that is required to drive them, to fine-tune them is unique. And often it's not possible for anyone else other than the providers of that product to have access to that software. So if, for example, you purchase a device from Specsavers, you can't go into your local audiologist to have that fine-tuned unless they provide you with that software.
Right. How often do I need to get my hearing aids fine-tuned? Like, how often would that be a problem?
In the beginning, it would something that would be required regularly. So in the beginning, from when you first fit with them, you may need some regular adjustments as the adaptation, as you get used to them over time. Now, at the very least, once a year, more like 2 or 3 times a year would be the average.
Okay. So if I am Betty at home and I need to get a pair of hearing aids, I've been told I've got a hearing loss and so on, what type of saving am I expected to gain if I do go to a bigger corporate where they can offer me something cheaper? Are we talking a couple of hundreds, a couple of thousand? Is it apple for apples? What's the, am I able to get the same hearing aid much cheaper?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer because are we comparing like for like here?
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but across the board.
And look, in a lot of cases, we're not. In fact, we don't even know sometimes. So it's difficult to compare one with another when they could be two completely different things because of how they're labelled. The savings, upfront savings, can appear to be significant, so a few hundred to thousands even. But what you've got to also take into consideration is it's not like a pair of glasses where once the prescription is determined, they create the lens, you put them on, and unless there's any changes to your vision or your eyesight, there won't be any adjustments that are required. With a hearing aid, there's an ongoing adaptation period where the wearer's getting used to them, and they do need to be fine-tuned along the way. At least that's what would be best practice. So you might get an upfront cost saving, what appears to be an upfront cost saving, but because of the regular adjustments that are more than likely going to be required. Now, if you are not satisfied with what you're experiencing, you've really got no other option but to persevere with them. And what I've found is that I've had people come to me where they may have purchased a device from one of the larger corporates, They've been coming to see me with the expectation that I can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell them that there's nothing that I can do, and the reasons why I can't do it because I can't obtain the software to make any adjustments, it's this just look on their face where they've realised, okay, I've made a mistake. I may have saved some money here, but I'm now faced with either putting up with what I've got and compromising my whole life experience, or accept it and then consider getting a new device.
For those that have come to you and you can't help them because you're locked out of the servicing because of the software, why have they gone to you and not gone back to the other providers?
Often I've been told that it's the inconsistency. They're not seeing the same person.
How important is that continuity of care?
It's extremely important because you develop a relationship with the individual.
Right.
It's a professional relationship, and it's the little things that may not be included in your case notes, but you remember some specific things that are unique to the individual. And they almost expect you to remember these things. And look, me personally, I'll remember what hearing aid the person has. I may not remember their name, but I can sure enough tell you what model they've got.
And I think as anyone, as a patient, whether you're 30 or 80 years old, seeing the same person makes a big difference to your trust and your
it does.
comfort.
You develop a trust over the years, a comfort, and you know that the person who is assisting you is really there to get the best possible outcome for you.
Does it make a difference who is adjusting the hearing aid in terms of years of experience or familiarity with the brand?
Absolutely. There are so many different. There are about 6 or 7 major manufacturers, and each have their own unique software that drives them, and they also have multiple models or different families on their list. So, and each of them are always very different. Now, it's important. Years of experience gives you that general understanding of how to solve some common problems. But then it's the familiarity of the device itself in what adjustment to make that's specific to that hearing aid in order to get the result that you're after.
So then that leads to my next question. If you're not cheap, what is it that you do differently to the bigger corporates? Or what do independents provide that's different?
Independents, they provide, I guess, first and foremost, the knowledge, the extensive knowledge across all of the products that are available.
The corporates don't do that?
They do, but they tend to have commercial arrangements with specific manufacturers, which may limit the options that the patient may have available to them. So there is some vertical integration in the hearing aid industry where manufacturers, so it starts from the top of the chain. They produce the hearing aids, they wholesale them, and then they also retail them as well.
Surely that. So they are only selling or prescribing their own brands?
Correct, yes.
Right, okay. And independents? They don't?
Independents, the majority, no, they
Okay.
don't. They'd have access and would offer the full range of hearing aids that are available.
And what does that mean to me if I'm coming to see an independent clinic or audiologist?
Basically, if you come to see an independent audiologist, someone like us, it means that we're not dictated by a specific hearing aid manufacturer. You can almost be guaranteed that you're getting the most appropriate device that best suits your listening needs.
Right.
Because
Okay.
they're all very different. They all do very different things.
Why is that important for being able to hear better?
Well, it's important because I guess that's why you're here. That's why you're going to see someone, because you've got concerns with your hearing and you want to get the best possible outcome each time. Now, if you're not provided that or given that as an option, then you're really coming off second best at best.
What I'm struggling to understand here, Cris, is that corporates, the bigger chains, may or may not be owned by the manufacturer, or they might have arrangements with manufacturers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So there's a commercial element to it.
Yeah.
Which is questionable in terms of patient ethics and health management. But that aside, they clearly must be doing well because there's hundreds of them, right? And they must be doing successfully well, and something's resonating there. Yet there's also and thankfully so, a great presence of independence in the industry. What type of person should go to a corporate, cheaper, bigger chain versus what type of person should be seen by an independent?
If for those that are wanting a quick solution and they're not prepared to invest in themselves, in their hearing difficulties, their hearing loss, go and see a corporate. You'll get a great deal, and that's probably about it. Not with everyone. You might be lucky and find someone who actually listens and cares. Whereas with an independent, you can be pretty much guaranteed that you will get someone who's sitting across that desk that is hearing you, but listening to what you're saying, and really giving you the best possible solution that will fit your individual needs. Now, yeah, it might cost a little bit more, but that's what you're paying for. There's the value in the experience that person is providing you, and to give you an honest and best possible outcome.
Cris, thank you very much today for your honest and transparent answers. Hopefully that gives people something to think about before making a purchase and decision.
I hope so, yeah.
Thanks, Cris.
Thank you.